Groups across the nation are getting ready to show up in the streets on Thursday if Bill Barr does the same kind of cover-up on the Mueller report that he did back in 1992 on Iran-Contra when he was Attorney General then. Check it out. And don't forget to leave your comments, subscribe, and ding the bell. Those of you who are regular listeners know that I've written a series of articles over the last month or three about Bill Barr and how back in 1992 he was the Attorney General who specifically when George Herbert Walker Bush was being subpoenaed to turn over his diaries that would have implicated him in Iran-Contra and is definitely in the sale of weapons to the illegal sale of weapons to Iran, and perhaps even in the 1980 part of it, in the pre-election part of it. Bill Barr was the guy who said the way to stop this investigation is to pardon Elliott Abrams, to pardon Caspar Weinberger, to pardon Ollie North, pardon all these guys. And Bush took his advice and screaming three-line, all-caps headline on the New York Times, December 26, 1992, or maybe it was either Christmas Day or the day after, screaming headline, massive cover-up, right? It was Bill Barr who organized that. And so anyway, we've been talking about that, and that is. And I've been pointing that out, that this guy is the cover-up guy, right? This is what he does for Republicans. What he's done. In fact, he was covering up for himself. William Safire in 1992, I just retweeted the article, talked about how Bill Barr himself was going to be indicted in this case. And so he got himself out of it as well because he shut down the investigation. And Lawrence Walsh, who was the special prosecutor, went nuts and said this is a cover-up. I mean, front page of the New York Times. How quickly we forget, right? So it looks like I think he's doing the same thing all over again, frankly. And I think his plan is to say, no, I'm not going to give you the report. It was done by the Justice Department. I'm the head of the Justice Department. I can keep it, under lock and key. Congress will subpoena it. He'll refuse the subpoena. It'll go to the courts. However the courts rule, it'll end up before the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court could take up to a year, and you got 5 right-wing wackadoodles on. It may be after the election before we see this thing, if Bill Barr has his way. And the one thing that can blow that up, that didn't happen in 92, the last time Bill Barr tried to do one of these cover-ups, and did it successfully, massively, the one thing that can blow that up is if enough people show up in the streets, is if public opinion turns on him. If the American people rise up and say, hell no, we want to know what's going on here. Was our country hijacked by a foreign power? Do we have a president who's not working in the best interest of the United States, but rather working for somebody else? Do we have criminals in the White? What the hell is going on here? Zac Petkanas is with us. He's on the line. He is the spokesperson for TrumpIsNotAboveTheLaw.org. It's a coalition of other groups, including Move On and People for the American Way and Public Citizen and others. The Time to Act, the nationwide protests are planned for, I believe, Thursday night. You can tweet Zac at Zac_Petkanas, Petkanas. And I just went to the website, TrumpIsNotAboveTheLaw.org, and plugged in my zip code and discovered. And Zac, welcome to the program, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. And I just want to tell people this is so cool what you guys have done. I just went over, plugged in my zip code here in Portland, Oregon, and boom, Vancouver right across the river. There's where it is, when it is, 1,100 people signed up. There's a whole bunch of them in Portland to have 2, 3, 700, 1,069 people already signed up to say we will be in the streets. Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to appreciate your intro to this, because I think so many in the mainstream media are getting it wrong about what's happening right now related to this report. You can turn on CNN and even sometimes MSNBC, and it seems like Bill Barr has agreed to release the full report, and that is simply not true. Bill Barr, in every single interview that he's given, every single letter that he's written, every communication with members of Congress, he has said that he refuses to commit to releasing the full report. And what's happening is that we have House Democratic leadership led by Jerry Nadler in the House Judiciary Committee and Adam Schiff, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. They have given Bill Barr a deadline of tonight, saying that if you do not release this full report and the underlying evidence by tonight, Tomorrow, we will begin the process to subpoena. And we, in the grassroots, the American people, we are going to take to the streets on Thursday if this deadline gets passed tonight. And what people can do is there are two ways to figure out where a protest is near you. One is to go to the website, TrumpIsNotAboveTheLaw.org. And as you say, people can go and put in their zip code and find an event near them. The events are going to happen around 5 o'clock local time. There'll be some leeway, probably about half an hour on either side, depending on the location. But you put in your zip code, you RSVP for an event, and then you'll start getting communications from the host about exactly where it is, when it is, what to bring. With you. There are over 200 events that are currently scheduled. There are more being added every single day as people find out about it and start hosting them in their own locations. But we need a real show of force to tell Bill Barr and to tell the Trump administration that it is not acceptable for them to redact a single word of the Mueller report. And we're going to go out on the streets on Thursday and we're going to tell them that nationwide.
Amen. Amen, brother. I mean, this is so important because this guy successfully covered up Iran-Contra, which may well have been like Nixon blowing up the LBJ's peace talks in 1968. You know, the president of Iran, President Bonnie Sadr, who now lives in the United States, who was president in 1980, is on the record. I mean, there's a piece in the Christian Science Monitor about how the Reagan administration actually, this was part of their plan. They had the Iranians hold the hostages so that Jimmy Carter couldn't win re-election. Major crimes committed by the Reagan administration, and George Herbert Walker Bush had to cover this up. He had to put a cover on it because he was involved in this stuff, and he brought in Bill Barr to do it. And now Trump is in a similar situation, major crimes, or at least it looks like it, and he brought in Bill Barr to be the cleanup guy.
That's exactly right. I mean, he is Mr. Cover-Up, and you just have to look at the letters that he put out so far. You know, the Mueller report, we know, is close to 400 pages long. So what does Bill Barr do, Mr. Cover-Up? He puts out a letter that's a summary of 4 pages long that puts the best possible spin on it for the Trump administration. You know, it defines collusion so narrowly that it probably would exclude Vladimir Putin from the definition, but it's silent on things like non-criminal evidence of collusion, like the Trump Tower meeting that senior Trump campaign officials had with Russian spies, the secret real estate deal that with the Kremlin that Donald Trump was pursuing during the 2016 election. Paul Manafort, the campaign chairman, giving internal strategy memos to Russian military intelligence, or Roger Stone acting as a conduit with WikiLeaks at the behest of the Trump campaign. None of this is covered in Bill Barr's summary. It is absolutely covered in the Mueller report, and that is why you are seeing the Trump administration and Donald Trump today on Twitter, talking about how, initially he said, "Oh yeah, let it all out. I want it all to be out there in public." And now, when it looks like some of it actually may come out, he's changed his tune, and he's saying he doesn't want it to come out, and attacking the Democrats for calling for the information to come out. There is a reason why Bill Barr is slow-walking this report coming out. There's a reason why the Trump administration is attacking the Democrats for calling for the full report of this report. This report is bad for the Trump administration, and they are going to hide it until we go out there and demand it, which is why people need to go to TrumpIsNotAboveTheLaw.org to find a protest near you.
Go. In 1992, one of the most respected journalists and op-ed writers in America was a guy named William Safire. He has since passed away, but I'm an old fart. I used to read his stuff. It was brilliant. And I'm looking at an article that he wrote in the New York Times in 1992, and just a couple of sentences from it. Barr's strategy, he was the Attorney General, has been to stall past December 15 when the law authorizing the independent counsel expires. Republicans recently filibustered its extension to death. And then he goes on, but the cover-up general, this is how he referred to Bill Barr. He called him the cover-up general. This is William Safire. I mean, but the cover-up general may be overlooking the Senate's understanding of its prerogatives. If the Senate Judiciary's official call is rejected, Chairman Joe Biden is prepared to consult with Chairman Boren. And he goes on through this whole thing. Joe Biden was trying to stop this thing and couldn't stop it. I mean, it's just this guy, Bill Barr, knows what he is doing. He knows how to hide the crimes committed by Republicans. He has done it before. before. He is doing it again. And we need to be in the streets on Thursday. If the entire report is not released to Jerry Nadler and Adam Schiff tonight, we need to be in the streets on Thursday. TrumpIsNotAboveTheLaw.org is the website. Zac Petkanas, am I saying it right, Zac?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can I also just say one thing? If
Sure.
people text Mueller, Mueller, Mueller to 21333, they'll get information about how to sign up for a protest. That's Mueller to 21333.